Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and the Waking Flames DLC is just about upon us, and I've been testing out the two new monster helms, and I want to give you my opinion and some uses for them. Are they trash or treasure? Let's find out in game. Okay, we're here in game, and we're going to kick it off with Magma Incarnate, which is what I consider a treasure and an awesome set coming up you're going to want to use. If we look at the One Piece, it's fascinating, giving you both magicka recovery and stamina recovery, making it just strong just for the One Piece. A really interesting combination you can use with the One Piece is the Torque Mythic as well, especially like on a magic or stamina Dragonite that uses both resources as well as sorcerers. Really good One Piece you can combine with Torque. When you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal ability, grant the lowest health group member within 28 meters minor courage and minor resolve, increasing weapon and spell damage and armor and resistances. The Daedric energy will bounce to other group members within 8 meters up to 3 times, applying minor courage, minor resolve for 10 seconds with a 15-second cooldown. That's a lot of information. Let's break this down. Number one is heal yourself or a group member. So it's actually pretty strong individually. Think PvP. For a two-piece, if you're using something that heals you, just you, like Honor the Dead for a Templar, Green Dragon's Blood for a Dragonite, this is strong just for yourself because it's going to give you minor courage and minor resolve. The problem is if you're playing solo and you're playing with other people, it might go to someone else and then it'll bounce around and that 8-meter range becomes an issue. That's the big trick and the downside I've seen on this. So the initial 28 meters is pretty forgiving, but the 8-meter bounce around energy is pretty small. Let's take a second to look how this effect procs in game. So Healing Ward is how I proc this effect, and you can see it bounce between players because we're in that 8-meter range, including companions, and we get a red glowing effect on our hands, symbolizing the minor courage buff. So I imagine a lot of folks will use this in coordinated PvE. Yalakrins, if you don't know, is a very good, strong tank set that I've been using when you taunt an enemy. It gives you and 11 group members minor courage for 15 seconds, and it can occur every 8 seconds. The strength of this is you can pretty much have 100% uptime or really close minor courage for a trials group. Strength of Magma Incarnate is it's a 2-piece monster helm, not a 5-piece, and your healer can run it. I'm on a Mag Necro, and how I found to use it is using Healing Ward, because remember, it's a single target. It's you or an ally. So using this Healing Ward, regardless of what class you're on, will proc its effect. Another added advantage of this set and why it's quite useful is the minor resolve, giving you a bit of armor for 10 seconds. In coordinated PvE, most folks are running Combat Prayer, Minor Berserk, and Minor Resolve. Essentially, Minor Resolve giving you the same thing. The issue with Combat Prayer is it's not everywhere, right? So you hit it, it's just in front of you, making positioning very critical. When you play dungeons, however, you are required to have a lot of mobility, where this could come in very handy if your group is coordinated in around that 8-meter radius. Another downside of this set is that it has a 15-second cooldown and only a 10-second uptime. So you're not going to be able to have this up all the time, but you are going to have it up quite frequently when you need it. How I would see myself using this is coordinated PvE in dungeons specifically. I don't know if the tanks are going to replace and have 3 or 4 people running this at a time, because that's a lot of 2 pieces to give up, especially when Symphony of Blades and other things are quite relevant. But I could see in a dungeon a healer or a tank using this and having it bounce around when you're coordinated, stacking along with Combat Prayer to really increase your group's DPS. I also would consider this a strong option in PvP as a healer. So if I'm running a Templar or even a Magpar PvP 1vx type build, having Honor the Dead as my burst heal to keep me up, not Breath of Life, would proc this, allowing me to get some spell damage or someone in my team, along with armor. I think it's going to be a really strong set, regardless of the 1-piece or 2-piece. There's a wide variety of options. Again, the major downside is the bounce around effect is required to be within 8 meters. And when I was testing it in the new veteran dungeons, that was the big barrier to making it useful all the time, along with the 15-second cooldown that it requires to reproc it. But the effect looks pretty cool. I think a lot of people are going to have the use for this, and it's useful to collect even just for the one piece. Another useful combination for this set to extend its effect a little bit longer is Jorvals. This 5-piece, while in combat, will increase the duration of all major and minor buffs. So you can extend that a little further, keeping the uptime a bit higher. A really nasty combination I plan on doing with my Necro on live once this goes live, whenever it releases, is to run Saxiel's Champion on my back bar. This 5-piece, when you use an ultimate while in combat, you and 11 group members 28 meters gain major force for 1 second per 15 ultimate spent. This is essentially the Warhorn buff, and you pair it with Colossus, Glacial Colossus here at 225 ultimate. Put Jorvals on and drop this with the ultimate, it's going to last a very long time. So it's like a really souped up Warhorn, adding an incredible amount of damage. Now pair that Saxiel's Champion Jorvals with this new set. So you boom, burst heal with a healing ward, proc that when you're in range, go to your back bar, drop Colossus. You're going to add so much damage to your party. I can't wait for this in 4-man dungeon. Now let's get to the disappointing monster helm, and that's the Prior's Mask. So I'm on my Stamplar here, and the 1-piece is weapon and spell damage both. Not unique among monster helms, so kind of a meh. The 2-piece, dealing direct damage with an area of effectability, creates a 6-meter shadowy whirlwind beneath your enemy for 7 seconds. Enemies within the whirlwind take physical damage each second and increase their damage taken from area effectabilities by 5%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Let me just show you what this effect looks like real quick so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So it's procced by my biting jabs on my Templar, and you can see the red glowing effect. It's a bit hard to see with the blazing spear down, so we'll give another go. There. So that red glow, and you can see the damage over time effect proccing. Let's break down each component of the 2-piece and why it's not that effective, and I'll show you some metrics to back this up. You're going to have an AoE of 6-meter shadowy whirlwind beneath the enemy for 7 seconds. The 6 meters is pretty nice, and the 7 seconds is kind of meh because it has a 15-second cooldown. That's a very small amount of uptime. Now, the enemies are going to take physical damage as well while in that area, but it's kind of a meh damage over time effect. And then lastly, the big piece that I was quite curious in is the 5% increase in area effectabilities. And it specifically says from your area effectabilities for 5%. This is quite disappointing because it could offer a lot of group utility in a trial if you bring a Stamplar using biting jabs as your main spammable. But with the lack of the uptime, the lack of a heavy hitting damage over time, and the lack of group utility with 5%, it's not that good. So we compared this in a parse. Prior's Monster Helm as a 2-piece running Briarheart, non-min-max deadly as well. So 5 deadly on, 5 Briarheart on, and a 2-piece Monster Helm. It's quite useful for Stam builds, Stamplars to run this set if it were to give group AoE, because Stamplars are unique and not really necessarily using the Vatashram dual wield, because their main spammable biting jabs hit so dang hard, but almost every other Stam build primarily drops Monster Helms in favor of the Vatashram weapons because it makes your main spammable Shrouded Daggers hit so hard. Really unique set, disappointed. Let me show you what happened when we compared this 2-piece in a parse unbuffed with Salines. So first test up here is with Salines on as a 2-piece Monster Helm, unbuffed just with me and a dummy here. I get a minute 19 active combat time with 35,000 damage per second, and my biting jabs, endless hail were my top 2 damage effects. Salines actually did 4.4% of my overall damage, which is okay. Now, when we switch gears and put Priors on and use that, what do we get? Well, we actually get a little bit less DPS. Our active combat time went from 119 to 124, and our DPS was 35,000, roughly the same. Again, Biting Jabs and Endless Hail were my two highest damage producing effects, along with Priors doing 3% of the damage overall because that dot is quite weak. I was under the assumption that the 5% increase damage over time would boost up my Biting Jabs, Endless Hail, Razor Caltrops so much that it would outperform the Salines. But doing it a couple times, this is what I got, and I was quite disappointed. We took the testing a bit further, and my friend John put on a AoE damage ability, Impulse, just to make sure that 5% didn't apply to the other group members. And we got the same result. So we did one without and then one with. And he got just a tad bit RNG probably, why I got a little bit more damage, but it wasn't 5%. In summary, I'm just quite disappointed in this monster helm because it doesn't have really any group utility. I can't see right now in its current iteration using it unless I'm missing something. If it got a buff where it provided more for the group, I think this would be a fantastic monster helm. But in its current iteration, it's not good. That wraps it up on the two new monster helms. I think there's some value in Magma. I do not think Prior is up to snuff, and I don't see really a reason to use it for a 1 or a 2 piece. However, Magma Incarnate, you're going to want just for the 1 piece, and you definitely might want the 2 piece. Whether it's PvE or PvP, strongly consider using this and trying to tailor your builds to fit this, because I think it's going to work really good on specific builds and small group content. Appreciate y'all watching.